Senator Moreno, you're next.
So let's start there. I wasn't expecting it, but I think my colleague brought up a good point of fairness. Let me just point out that right now, it is optional for you to pay more money in taxes, by the way. You can definitely do that. Somebody who's worth a lot of money, you're allowed to pay more money in taxes. So maybe recommend that.
If you believe Washington should be held to the same standards as everyday Americans, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe right now, because what just happened in this Senate hearing is exactly why people are losing trust in the system.
Number two, I would say that when it comes to fairness, why don't we withhold our paychecks while we're withholding the paychecks of 260,000 DHS employees? Why don't we do that? That seems fair. It doesn't seem fair that we get paid $175,000 a year, and yet you walk by with an escort, skipping the lines of people who've been waiting for hours to the airport.
Nobody does that. Nobody does that.
You want videos? I'll send it to you. We'll send it to you.
Raise your hand if you've done that.
You drive home. You drive home.
But I fly, and I fly a lot. I never skip the line.
Good for you. Talk to your colleagues. Talk to your colleagues. Talk to your colleagues. They do it all the time.
Don't say that all of us skip lines.
I didn't say all.
We don't skip lines.
Don't paint a fake. Are you holding your paycheck?
Don't paint a fake picture.
Are you holding your paycheck?
No, because you're not paying TSA agents. We're asking you to take yes for an answer. Take yes for an answer.
You're not willing to hold your check.
Take yes for an answer.
Are you willing to hold your check?
Okay, Senator Moreno, why don't we reclaim your time?
I will reclaim my time, but just for the record, let the record show the answer is he's not willing to hold his paycheck because the Democrats blocked that. But you have no problem.
You guys are blocking it.
You completely object to unanimous consent on TSA all the time, so get your facts right.
I will see you at 6 o'clock on the floor. I will see you at 6 o'clock on the floor, and we'll have that discussion in front of the American people at 6 p.m.
We'll put up another unanimous consent, you'll block it again.
I look forward to that debate at 6 o'clock tonight on the floor.
Blocked it 8 times now.
In the meantime, I know you are not about following rules, like people coming to this country illegally, but here, hopefully, we follow rules and let senators speak their turn. So if I could ask you to turn your microphone off and allow me to have my 5 minutes, and I will.
Please proceed.
Well, I wasn't asking.
Don't issue accusations that are unfounded against your colleagues.
Okay,
you're not
make an appointment to do this on the floor. Why don't you put two more minutes back on Senator Moreno's time?
All right. Well, thank you. Sorry that you had to see that, but it's pretty disgusting that there's a double standard here, and then people get preached about fairness by people who have a net worth of hundreds of millions of dollars of inherited wealth. Anyway, moving on, let me just be crystal clear on a couple things. There is no scenario in which I would support increasing the retirement age for Social Security. People who spend their days in offices are the ones who think that. People who work all day in manufacturing environments where their body says no, even though their mind may say yes, is why we would absolutely never see an increase in our Social Security retirement age. So I just want to make that clear. Number two, what would be the impact, Mrs. Glenn, of not having a cap at all on Social Security wages?
That would solve about 60% of the shortfall.
So I think that's something that we should do. There should be no reason why we should have a cap on Social Security wages. If you make income just like anybody else, you should have you should have to pay Social Security like any other working American. So that solves 60% of the problem. The next one would be means testing, meaning that if you have a certain amount of assets or a certain amount of income, that you are disqualified from receiving Social Security because you're doing fine. Like, you don't need this extra supplement. To me, this seems like this is a program designed to help working Americans retire with dignity. Would you agree, Mrs. Glenn?
Depending on the level you set that means test at, it would certainly have an effect on solvency.
I mean, let's not disqualify multimillionaires like like some of my colleagues on the other side. And then the last one is, why don't we look at cost savings from eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse? What would that mean? You didn't answer my question on the second. What would the means testing do? So 60% of the problem is fixed by not having an income cap. How much does means testing? Let's say we set it at $1 million a year in income and $10 million in assets.
Yeah, I don't have that number off the top of my head. I can get it for you.
Give me a wild guess.
Let's say 20%.
So we're 80% of the way there. Yeah. And then how about waste, fraud, and abuse?
As far as I'm aware, there's no significant effects on the trust funds from waste, fraud, and abuse.
And how about having non-citizens receiving Social Security?
Non-citizens do not receive Social Security.
Not at all. There's not a single solitary non-American citizen that's received. Is that your testimony?
By law,
And
they're
let's say what
not allowed.
the law says we can't speed.
Yeah, I certainly can't speak to the individuals.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Today, we're looking at a tense moment on Capitol Hill where Senator Bernie Moreno went head-to-head with Senators Tim Kaine and Jeff Merkley during a heated discussion about the DHS shutdown. And let me tell you, this wasn't your typical political back and forth. This was direct, uncomfortable, and revealing. Right out of the gate, Moreno brought up something that a lot of Americans have been thinking but rarely hear said this plainly. He challenged the idea of fairness in taxation, pointing out that anyone who believes they should pay more taxes is actually free to do so right now. That's a bold statement, but it highlights a bigger issue. Are these arguments about fairness genuine or just political messaging? Then he took it a step further, and this is where things really escalated. Moreno called out the fact that while roughly 260,000 DHS employees could be affected during a shutdown, members of Congress continue collecting their full salaries. He asked a simple question: if fairness matters, why aren't lawmakers willing to withhold their own paycheck? That question clearly struck a nerve. What followed was a heated exchange with Senators Kaine and Merkley. Voices were raised, accusations were thrown, and instead of a clear answer, what we saw was deflection and frustration. Moreno pressed the issue repeatedly, asking whether his colleagues would be willing to make the same sacrifice they're asking federal workers to endure. And here's the key takeaway: there was no direct yes. This is the kind of moment that cuts through the noise, because it's not about party lines, it's about accountability. If leaders are making decisions that impact hundreds of thousands of workers, shouldn't they be willing to share in that burden? Now, to be fair, the debate didn't stop there. The conversation shifted into Social Security, and Moreno made it clear he opposes raising the retirement age, and honestly, this is one area where a lot of Americans, left and right, actually agree. He argued that people working physically demanding jobs shouldn't be forced to work longer just because policymakers think it makes sense on paper. That's a grounded, real-world perspective that often gets overlooked in these debates. Moreno also laid out potential solutions to Social Security's funding issues, like removing the income cap so higher earners contribute more, and introducing means testing so benefits go to those who actually need them most. Now, whether you agree with those proposals or not, at least we're seeing specific ideas being put on the table. That's more than can be said for a lot of these hearings. Another key moment came when the discussion turned to a common political talking point: whether non-citizens receive Social Security benefits. The witness made it clear: by law, they do not. That's important because it separates fact from rhetoric, something we need more of in these conversations. But let's zoom out for a second. What this entire exchange really exposed is the growing frustration Americans feel toward Washington. There's a perception, fair or not, that there are two sets of rules, one for the political class and one for everyone else. When lawmakers continue to get paid during a shutdown while federal workers face uncertainty, it reinforces that perception. And when direct questions about accountability don't get clear answers, it only adds fuel to the fire. At the end of the day, this wasn't just a political argument. It was a snapshot of a much bigger issue: trust. Trust in leadership, trust in fairness, and trust that the people making decisions are willing to live by them. That's why moments like this matter. If you want more breakdowns like this, clear, direct, and focused on what actually impacts everyday Americans, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because we're going to keep covering the moments the mainstream won't fully unpack. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Should members of Congress lose their pay during a government shutdown? Or is there a better way to handle accountability in Washington? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them and they help shape future videos. And if you found value in this breakdown, stay right here and check out the next video on your screen. It dives even deeper into what's really happening behind the scenes in Washington.